Welcome to Friday Night Sports Show High Desert Highlights. I'm Phil Haugen. This is Peyton Thomas. Tonight, playoff football action. And Peyton, we've been waiting for this all week, really. Our feature game of the week tonight, the Summit Storm, 5-4 coming into tonight, hosting the 8-1 Willamette Wolverines. So we'll get right to it. Opening kickoff, kind of a short bounce kick, really, picked up by senior Ari Villano. He finds some wiggle room. He gets to the middle. He makes defenders miss. And then he finds the sideline on the right, and there's just no catching that, man. Touchdown on the first play of the game.
That's a way to start off the playoffs right there.
Yes, it is. Now Summit with the ball, 3rd and long. Andrew Guthrie pump fakes, looks deep. There's a man, Connor Connolly, with a diving catch, fingertips. And again, the connection, he's in. Yes, another score for the Storm. The Summit on offense. That was Connolly, by the way. On defense, Alex Neverov gets a strip sack. Colson Scoose picks it up and takes it to the house. This is all in the first quarter, Peyton, and they take a 21-0 lead. So let's get to the second quarter. Guthrie looks deep. It's guess who? Connolly again. Too much speed. His second touchdown of the half. Now, near the end of the half, screen pass, this time to Kai Scally. He reads the blockers, finds the lane, and finds the end zone. Summit absolutely dominant in the first round win, 55-20.
I'll tell you what, Steele, if there was going to be a most improved award this year, it absolutely goes to Summit. They started this year with 3 straight losses, and this is a completely different football team. They're battle tested, they're on a winning streak, they're feeling great, and they've got a big one coming up next week.
Scored their highest points the whole season tonight, 35 in the first half, and I spoke with head coach Corbin Hyatt about what went well in that first half.
We scored on all three phases of the game, offense, defense, special teams. Way to come out and start the game with a special team score. That was huge for us.
Closing out the second half, what do you need to do?
We've got to get a defensive stop on this. If we give up a score here, it's going to give them a little bit of momentum, and they feel like they've got some life. So we're putting everything into this first drive, get them off the field, and then we'll play our style of football.
That's exactly what happened. They forced the 3 and out, and then guess what? They scored on their next possession. An absolutely great team win there, Peyton.
All right, now we head to the other side of town, Mountain View. The Cougars on their revenge tour, trying to make it back to the state title game and coming out of the gate hot with 2 first-half touchdowns. The first right here, pass over the top. The second, a toss outside to Angel Valenzuela, who catches the edge. And the Cougars into that halftime locker room at 19-3. Second half, looking to extend that lead. And here come the fireworks. They'll do it on the first play from scrimmage. How about 65 yards with a little shake and bake from Jordan Best all the way for the score. And yes, it stayed in.
Yeah, and he went one way, made the defender go the other way, and that's just a walk-in touchdown.
All right, Mountain View up 26-3, but Thurston wouldn't go quietly in this one, moving the ball in the next drive. This is a 4th and 9 play. Cougars almost off the field, but the Colts break out the trick play, a double pass over the top for 6. 2-point conversion is good. Mountain View back on offense, 26-11. Chambers wants it all, and he's going to pay for it. No receiver anywhere close. Easy pick for the Colts. And here's where things got interesting. A snap later, Thurston breaks into the open field again for a lengthy touchdown, and suddenly that comfy 23-point Cougar lead, it's cut to only 8. So Chambers and the offense get back to work. They need to find their stride, so who else but Jack Foley making the catch, tiptoeing that sideline, and he finds only green grass ahead. Another explosive Mountain View touchdown. That second half push gets the Cougars into the next round. They're bound for the quarterfinals, a 42-18 win.
Yep, and as the Cougars advance and continue their quest to avenge last year's title game loss, our Eric Lindstrom went in focus highlighting Mountain View's undefeated regular season after losing 22 seniors. Much of their success came on the back of Coach Brian Crumb's experience in rebuilding the roster and the dynamic play of quarterback Mason Chambers.
So you try to build that family atmosphere so that when it's, hey, it's my turn now, and now it's my turn now, and now it's my turn now. And when that clock turns and it's their group, then they get a chance to go have fun and play it under the lights on Friday.
To view Eric's full In Focus story, search Mountain View Football on CentralOregonDaily.com.
And the Lava Bears, the only local 5A team in the playoffs, but on the road this week. They're looking for their first round upset against Wilsonville, the defending champs, and Ben got off to a hot start in this one. Caden Cooper to Max Duncan at the bottom of the screen there. Duncan gets free for the first score of the game, but the Bears weren't up for long. Wilsonville answering back with 4 touchdowns on its next 4 drives. Wildcats really an offensive juggernaut most of the year.
Yep, they absolutely have. There's no stopping the Wildcats this year.
Ben showed more life, going back from Cooper to Duncan. That connection late in the half, and Duncan had several catches in this game. A solid night for him on the receiving end. And then finally in the second half, this play. Ben's second 90-plus yard offensive play from scrimmage in just 3 weeks. If you remember the 99-yard touchdown pass against Ridgeview last month, well, this pitch and catch, just 94 yards steal, but it wasn't enough against one of the top offenses in all of Oregon. The defending champs move on. Wilsonville over Bend 63-34. And that game takes us to our 5A scoreboard, and Steel 3 Central Oregon teams remain at the start of the night. Now we've got only 2.
Yep, and 2 dominant wins, both by Summit there at home and Mountain View, both looking to advance next week as well.
And those results bring us to tonight's updated 5A bracket. Here's what it looks like heading into the quarterfinals, in Steel Summit against that top-seeded Silverton. I know we'll talk about that one later in the night, but I think Mountain View has a great path against West Albany and Dallas if they can get past Lebanon to try to reach that title game again.
They can. And what do you know? Summit and Mountain View on the opposite side of the brackets. Look at that.
Okay, they're both still alive. More action from across the high desert after the break. Welcome back to High Desert Highlights. Crook County entered the playoffs tonight undefeated. The Cowboys, the 4 seed on home turf, and they look to defend it against the 5-4 Cheesemakers from Tillamook. And early on, it didn't look like the Crook County team we saw most of the season, Steele.
No, I mean, they just seemed a little off. They scored a lot of points the regular season and couldn't get things going tonight.
Well, this opening drive stalls out. Cowboys settle for the field goal. 3-0 second quarter. The Cheesemakers searching for some offense, but they only find a blue jersey, Gavin Sandoval, with the interception. His offense stalls, though. He's also the quarterback, and Tillamook gets another chance with the ball, and this time they make Crook County pay for it. A chunk play gets the Cheesemakers just outside of the red zone, and then a snap later, a touchdown pass makes it 7-3 Cheesemakers. Later in the quarter, Cowboys force a 3-and-out punt. Looks like they're getting off the field. It was nearly blocked, but then disaster. A muffed punt on the other end gives Tillamook the ball with great field position, and they add a long field goal to finish off the half. Steele, that was more than 40 yards. And he cleared. That's a good kick right there. Now second half action, Tillamook trying to extend that lead. It's 10-3, and it didn't take long. Another chunk play here. This is the opening drive of the second half, and then a long touchdown pass. That buries the Cowboys. Crook County mounted a fourth quarter comeback attempt, but they crash out. Tillamook upset 2017 in Prineville.
Yeah, it was still a great season, though. 9-0. You cannot fault them for tonight. They had a great regular season, just playoffs. It's tough.
I was going to say, I'm sure they would take a regular season loss to be able to get through the first round tonight. You know that Cowboys team will be back and ready to compete next year because they have a lot of talent. It's part of the reason they got to 9-0.
Yeah, and with Crook County's loss tonight, Tillamook moves on to play Scappoose next week in a tough way to end that undefeated season, like we said. And Tillamook will play Scappoose.
Yeah, and no more Central Oregon teams in 4A. Of course, Crook County now with Madras dropping down, the only 4A team, but thought they had a good chance this year, but crashing out in the first round.
Yeah, and the Culver Bulldogs, though, unbeaten this season. They were at home against Weston McEwen, and they were ready to prove a point. They didn't waste any time. It's a fullback dive near the goal line, and that just squeaks in for a touchdown. And then it's Carlos Fernandez, same play, fullback up the middle, and that was a long run there. And Culver on defense. Houston Wittenberg with the interception, makes some moves, finds the corner, and takes it to the house. And then guess what? He also can do it with his arm because he is the quarterback. They look to pile on the points, drops back to pass, avoids the sack, and finds Cole Roth in the end zone. Culver 10-0. They win big 44-0, and they take on St. Paul, also 10-0, at home next.
Yeah, and Culver have looked invincible all year long still, but that St. Paul team is probably the toughest test that they're going to play.
They are the real deal.
So a huge one to look forward to next week in the quarterfinals, but that Culver win takes us to our second round of playoff scores. And Steele, the only other game that we didn't get to watch tonight was that Sisters game, but they hung tight with Taft most of the night, looking for the upset there against the 5 seed, but the Outlaws fall short.
Yeah, both 7-2. I thought it'd be a good one, and it was.
And really a good season from Sisters.
Absolutely.
If you look all the way around, that offense was explosive a lot of the year, and that's another team that could come back next year with something to prove.
Yep, and we'll be back with our top plays after this. Welcome back to High Desert Highlights. It's time for maybe my favorite segment, Top Plays of the Night.
All right, first we head to Mountain View. And this is the shake and bake, Steele. And
it is.
If you want to say, give me your ankles, Jordan Best did that. And if you're going to break somebody's ankles, you better take it to the house, and he does. A 65-yard run down the sideline, and Steele, I slowed it down for us.
Go.
Ooh, fakes left.
Where's he
goes
going?
Right.
Where's he going? Well, he's going right in the end zone.
Well, I don't
that's where
think
he's going.
anybody on Thurston had any idea this was just one of a number of touchdowns that Mountain View put on the Colts tonight.
Yeah, and Peyton, I have a 2-for-1 for you tonight. This is Andrew Guthrie out to Connor Keenely, the diving catch, the fingertips right there. And guess what? The drive's not over because it goes right back to him for this effort. And look at this, 1 foot in the end zone. What an absolutely phenomenal play right
Well,
there.
I'll tell you what, Steele, this Summit offense has really started to come alive this year, but Connor Keneally, one of the biggest reasons why. We go back to Mountain View for the final top play of the night. Jack Foley, the Wake Forest commit. You see how he just shoves that guy off near the sideline? And just notice the little peek back towards the defender after he shrugs him off. That's just, I'm bigger than you. I'm going to shrug you off, and I'm going to take it to the house. Jack Foley with the long touchdown catch.
Grown man move. And he's been doing that quite a lot this season.
Probably one of the reasons that we'll see him do it at the next level, at the Division I level at some point.
And, go ahead.
Finally tonight are games to keep an eye on for next week. That first game to keep an eye on, Summit against Silverton and Steele. We saw this matchup earlier on in the year when Summit went to Silverton and lost by a couple scores. I think it was 35-12 if my memory serves. That was the first week of the year. Completely different matchup on the horizon.
One Summit, they do the tough, the early season. They played Wilsonville, last year state champions. They went to Idaho, if you remember that.
And they played the
Silverton.
state champions in Idaho as well this year.
Yeah, so and that just proves that you can get ready for the postseason when you have those tough matchups early on.
And this is part of the reason that Summit was the 8th seed, even with the 5-4 record. All the other 5A teams around them, only 1 or 2 lost teams. Now Summit got to host tonight and really put on a show and proved why they deserved to host tonight.
That was an 8-1 team,
well.
maybe. An 8-1 team, just remember that.
All right, our other 5A game to watch next week is Mountain View back at home as the 2 seed. They earned that second home game, and they're facing Lebanon and Steele. This is another game the Cougars will probably be favored in. Lebanon with the upset tonight on the road, but Mountain View, they already bested the Warriors once this year.
Yeah.
And just for a comp, Caldera also beat Lebanon earlier this year.
Yeah, they did in that game against Lebanon. That was a close one, 15-14. Again, early in the season, so two completely different teams really by the beginning of the year to the end of the year. But it should be a good one.
All right, let's take one more look at the 5A bracket before we finish tonight. There's 3 teams remaining in Central Oregon. It's Summit on the top left of the bracket, Mountain View on the right side of the bracket, and then 2A Culver. Steele, of these 3 teams, who's got the best shot right now at a state title?
That's Mountain View Cougars.
Okay, you heard it here first. We'll see you next week for more playoff High Desert highlights.